And thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jacksonville, and in today's program we're going to be hearing from principals and students who have concerns about the Ministry of Education's Sixth Form Pathways program. Now, that's a program that's supposed to make all students spend 7 years in secondary school. The ministry says the program creates multiple pathways to help students get the skills, competencies, and certification that they need for either higher education and or the workplace. Now, pathway 1 is the traditional, what we know as a sixth form course. Pathway 2 is a technical route, and pathway 3 is called the general program. Later in the program, we'll hear from representatives of the Jamaica Teachers Association and the National Secondary Students Council to get their views. But first, we visited Old Harbour High School in St. Catherine to speak with Principal Linton Ware and Marcus Garvey Technical High School in St. Anne to hear from Principal Aniona Jones, and she also is the Assistant PRO of the Association of Principals and Vice Principals.
I think the program put together by the Ministry of Education, I think there are parts of it that are very, very good.
The Sixth Form Pathways program is an excellent idea in that it provides a number of opportunities for students to continue their education past the 11th grade.
But we've heard concerns coming from teachers as well as students about the proposals that have been put forward. Do you share any of those concerns? And if so,
Absolutely. The Sixth Form Pathways is a good program generally across the country. The concerns that we have, it's primarily anchored in what programs do we offer based on the profile of certain schools. I believe that the program has a certain flexibility to allow school administrators at the local level to look at the combination of pathways and to match pathways to the needs of their students. So the idea of taking one size to fit all the varieties of school types, that I think is where we may have some of the challenges. And of course, depending on the combination of programs, there would be other needs such as human resource needs and facilities, funding, that kind of thing.
Was there enough consultation with the principals and teachers?
No.
You said that unequivocally.
Yes.
What was missing?
There's a difference between trying to sell me an idea to gain my buy-in and involving me in crafting an idea. And that is where we're having a challenge.
But while I think there are parts of it that are very, very good, I think one of the things that the ministry probably should have done is to have a deeper conversation with us educators, with us principals, instead of making a decision and then after making the decision to pretty much pass it on to us. I think principals, I think educators should have been a part of the process in terms of coming together in making that decision.
To ask me to do the impossible, because to retain 300 children is impossible.
Let us take, for example, us here at Old Harbour High School. I am having a major problem with the sixth form integration program. And the problem I'm having with it is that here at Old Harbour High School, we have 2,500 students. At the end of grade 11, we have 500 students leaving grade 11 each year. So our cohort for grade 11 students is 500. There's no way we will be able to take back 500 students at the end of grade 11 because we don't have the space. We can only take back 150 students at the end of grade 11, which means that there are 350 students that we will not be able to take back here at Old Harbour High School. So for the traditional sixth form program, we're able to take back 100 students. And for our pathway 2, we're able to take 50 students, which is a total of 150 students. So if it is that the ministry have decided to mandate the program, then we must seriously look at how is it that we're going to deal with the spacing issue.
Each of our cohorts from grades 7 to 11 exceed 320 students.
You say you have over 320 students in your cohort. So all 300, in theory, are supposed to move into one of the three sixth form pathways. How many are you retaining? Are you able to retain in terms of space and resources?
We have received no additional physical facilities since we started our sixth form program in 2018.
So how many move up from fifth form?
At present, we have less than 100 students who start The attrition rate is particularly high, mostly so for the boys. We can, at maximum capacity, take back 120. And this is because we double the size of classes in the lower grades. We use alternative spaces and lab spaces for classes. Of course, we would be making compromises to some other programs to keep back 120 students.
So what happens to the other 200?
For the most part, they move on to work. And of course, it's entry-level jobs. We have a few that move to the local colleges to do, again, level 1 programs. We do have a few that move to Hart. The majority of our students, though, do not go back to school within the first year or two after leaving.
But if the ministry is saying that all 320 need to move on to this 2-year program, is that realistic?
No. I have 10 classes at every grade level from grade 7. There is no way that I can have even 10 classes.
When the Ministry of Education last school year decided to mandate the program, we would have communicated to the ministry and we would have said to the ministry, look, we cannot take back the 500 students. We don't have the space. We don't have the teaching personnel, teacher personnel. The ministry gave us 1 teacher.
Now, if you look at the varied pathways and the number of classes required, the number of teachers required to deliver said curriculum, remember too, you're asking me to offer college level programs using high school teachers who must function and secure the quality of college level programs. So there's a lot of developmental work that also needs to be done between the high school and the college so that we're able to perform and secure the quality of instruction comparable to the local colleges.
You said the ministry gave you 1 additional teacher.
Yes.
You have 500 students. How many would you need to deal with 500
So
students?
if you look at it close up, with us having 500 students, and we're not able to take back all 500, it means that 350 of our students would have to go elsewhere. So with the ministry providing us with 1 teacher, and if you look at the ratio itself, the ratio is 1 in 20 if it is that you're having a 6th form program. Outside of a 6th form program, it is 1 in 25. So, if it is that we were able to take the 350, we're talking about 16 and a half, 17 teachers. There's no half of a teacher. So we're talking about 16 or 17 teachers. But we were only given 1 teacher.
What about the funding? The ministry says it'll be giving an amount of money per student.
Yes. Well, the Ministry of Education provides us with $17,500 per capita each year. But while it is that the ministry is prepared to provide $17,000 per capita, that is a formula that has been used for years. And I think where we are right now in the educational budget, I think that we need to have further discussion where that is. So we need to look at we need to have a conversation to work out properly how much it is to educate a Jamaican student in high school, because we have been working with this for quite some time.
But what's your estimate? You think it's closer to what?
I think it is much more than that. I think, let us say, for example, what is charged at the 6th form level for some schools. It's way more than that. And I think it can cost a school at this time $35,000 to educate fully a Jamaican child in our high school.
To not be able to give me a per unit cost for a technical program in this economy is impossible, because what it takes to certify 1 student in the technical areas is almost triple what it takes to certify a student in the traditional grammar programs. So we're also not considering the fiscal impact when I retain 80 additional children in 4 or 5 additional technical programs with no school fees. They don't have to pay auxiliary fees, and yet still I'm having to provide all the resources required for the children to truly be certified competent.
The program have started last school year. There are some schools that have full rollout. There are some schools that have partial rollout. There are some schools that have no rollout. So let us say, for example, us here at Old Harbour High School, we communicate to the ministry very, very early that we will not be able to have all 500 students in our space. And so we made it clear to them that we can only participate in the traditional 6th form program, which is 100 students, and we can take on pathway 2, which was only 50 students. So we only have here at Old Harbour High School 150 students. So the other 300, they're pretty much all over. I know Portmore Community College, which is our neighbor, quite a number of our students are there, and that is what the ministry have been doing now. The ministry now have been taking spaces in other institutions as well to help our young people to find space, because we don't have the space. And it's not just us here at Old Harbour High School, but there are other schools who are having a similar problem as well.
A couple of things, because that's part of what I don't understand.
Yes.
So first of all, you say you have 15 pathway 2, so they are doing what?
No, we have 100 students on
Right, 100 in the traditional sixth
right,
form.
which is pathway 1.
Right, so the ones who aren't in pathway 1, pathway 2,
Right.
what are they doing?
The pathway 2 students, they did not receive their full complement of their CXC. So you find the pathway 2 having 1, 2 CXC exams, subjects, and they are able now to do additional CXC subjects and at the same time continue their skill training as well. So that is what is happening in our pathway 2. You see, before it was called pathway 2, we always have a set of students that we call pre-6, because we had a pre-6 program here at Old Harbour High School. And the pre-6, what I did was to allow our students to have a foot in grade 11 and a foot in grade 12. So they would come in with 2 subjects. The 2 subjects at the CXC level would allow them to have a foot in sixth form, and at the same time they would be able now to repeat those subjects that they did not pass. So this is the program now that transcends into what we call the pathway 2 programs, but we are not able to take the pathway 3 any at all.
So based on what you said though,
Yes.
you're not going to be able to take those extra children at
No.
any point in the near future,
We
are
will
you?
not be able to take them at any point, because when you look at it, we have here at Old Harbour High School 40 classrooms. We have 133 teachers. There's no, so if it is that we are not going to receive any other space in terms of classroom space, we will never be able to take them.